dare you tell me what to do? I demand you to give the robot to my son for upsetting him.
r/Entitled Parents. What is up, guys? Mr. Reddit here, back with another episode of Entitled Parents Stories. r/Entitled Parents is one of my favorite subreddits, and I really enjoyed making this. Now kick back, relax, and enjoy the show. We've got several stories that we're looking at today. You'll find timestamps to the beginning of each story pinned in the comments. Story number 1 will be Entitled Mom Demands My Friend to Have a Baby with Me. Story number 2 will be Give me your $80 headphones because my daughter likes them. Story number 3, Entitled Mom Decides I Don't Belong in My Workplace because I'm a girl and I get an asthma attack. Story number 4, Entitled Mom Wants Our Food while me and my boyfriend are on our date night. Story number 5, No, our STEM project is not for your son to have. Story number 6, You want kids for money? Shouldn't have thrown out your eldest. Story number 7, Entitled Mother complains to my boss and he fines me for not selling tobacco and beer to her underaged kid. Once again, timestamps to each story are pinned in the comment below. Entitled Mom Demands My Friend to Have a Baby with Me. I used to have a female friend I'll call Tia. She was an okay person, but I didn't like her all that much. Tia was a popular girl and I was just the person who avoided all other human beings. We didn't match and grew apart after this, but I'll always remember her because of her mother, or the poor excuse for it. We were in town and I was in a store buying white chocolate. It has a different texture and taste compared to milk chocolate and doesn't stick to the back of my throat the same. Tia didn't like chocolate, so she was buying a Twinkie. The store we were in had a section dedicated to American sweets. To all of you Americans reading this, you've got a very diverse amount of sweets. Seriously, I didn't know that you could get licorice, caramel, or vanilla Dr. Pepper until I saw that selection. I'm willing to come overseas to find out what other future regrets you have in stores. Anyway, Tia and I were walking out of the shop when her mom comes in. For the sake of the story, I'll mention that I have a unisex face and voice. With the coat that I wear all the time, it's almost impossible to see if I have breasts or not. My hair is short and my real-life name is also unisex. Basically, it's very easy to mistake me for a lad. I think you understand the title a little better now. I'll call the woman Diana. Diana says, Tia! This woman was wearing the ugliest brown shirt I have ever seen. If she slathered herself in poo and deceased cats, it would be a major improvement and less of an eyesore. And this is coming from the girl who goes to stores in a Batman onesie and believes it's fashion. Yes, Mom? Why have you been ignoring my texts and calls? Mom, I don't want a baby. My eyebrows rocketed from my forehead, punched a new hole in the ozone layer, looped around Mars and came back. What the hell? The woman ignores me, but this won't be for long. Babies don't fix broken relationships, Mom. I can't have babies, and you're my daughter, so you have to do as I say. There are many girls your age who make wonderful mothers. In fact, think of it as little brother or sister. The woman sounds so hopeful and pleased that it disturbs me, other than the fact she's asking her 14-year-old daughter to have a baby. My boyfriend loves you, though. He's 34. He would go to prison if he went anywhere near me. That is when the mother notices me, and the look she has makes me believe I'm looking at the female Hannibal Lecter. Hello! You're about my daughter's age, aren't you? Tia is looking at me with a horrified face. Nothing has ever been said to me that made me this upset before. I like your approach. Now let's see your departure. I was hopeful that she'd adhere to my advice, but instead she only looked mildly annoyed. I'll pay you. I'll do anything you ask. Just get me a baby. Did you think about adoption? Not that any adoption center would actually let her near an infant. No, it must be related to me. You're coming home with me and I am having a baby. This lady went from 100 to 1,000. First of all, your daughter is as sexually appealing as Freddy Krueger with frostbites. Secondly, you're crazy. And lastly, I'm physically incapable of impregnating anybody. Be like a fart in the wind and disappear. Do I walk away? Nope. I sprint like the Roadrunner has turned man-eater. I ran away, but our tale does not end there. No, it gets even worse. I don't know how, but Diana learned where I lived. At the time, my mom was at work and my uncle from another story, Connor, was there. Now that we're older, we don't talk much, but he was once again a witness to my ability to magnetize lunatics to me. There was a knock at the door, and when my uncle goes to open it, expecting my nan, the woman barges in. He's confused, and I just want to have a heart attack. The woman was holding on to terrified Tia. She shoves my uncle onto the couch and then locks us inside of our own house. It's that crazy woman I was telling you about. What is it with you and crazy people? I'd like to know so I can reverse it. I need a vaccine to lunatics if I wish to keep my own sanity.
Do it!
She shoves a crying Tia in front of me, and I sit her down.
There you go.
Get out of my sister's house.
I don't want you. I want my baby to be cute.
My uncle was not loyal to me, so he abandoned me with Diana and her crazy obsession to get a child. I know he ran away to call the police, but I still felt betrayed. I'd call you a private part, but you have neither the depth nor the warmth. Leave my house. I was not afraid to punch this woman in the face if I had to, especially since she was trying to pimp her daughter out to me. I can't have kids.
Yes, you will.
She grabs onto my coat. Yes, I wear it inside, and yanks it off. I am wearing only a small pajama top underneath, and there are 2 feminine lumps on my chest. That's it. I'm so angry I hit this woman in the shoulder. The rest is a bit of a blur, but my uncle unlocked the door and let 2 police officers in. She won't be getting out of jail until 2049, and I'm more than happy about that. My uncle buys me some more chocolate to try to make me feel better, but even though it's been 3 years, I still don't feel better. I don't know what became of Tia, but I want her to be somewhere nowhere near her family because her mom's boyfriend tried to sue me. I haven't been told why he wants to sue me, but I think it has something to do with assault or emotional trauma or something stupid. I really hope that Diana gets what she deserves. People, please don't demand babies from children. Just don't. Next up, we've got, give me your $80 headphones because my daughter likes them. Ran into an entitled mom and her daughter at Walmart today. I wish the kid was actually nice, but both were entitled. So for background, I have an amazing set of Razer Kraken Pro V2 headphones I got off Amazon for $80. They are quartz, and they're pink. And I got them to poke fun at my friend, cause I had pink headphones and they didn't. Plus my previous set, normal green ones, they had just broken. Now I was in Walmart getting some sodas and looking at some crap that interested me, listening to some music, ignoring people. I had the volume up loud enough so that I couldn't hear the people. I think the entitled mom was trying to get my attention because I felt someone tap my shoulder and I turned around. Cast is the standard cast, me, the entitled mom, and the entitled daughter, who was probably about 16 or 17. I take off my headphones to hear her. What?
My daughter likes your headphones.
Oh, thanks.
How much for them? My daughter really wants them. We have been looking for headphones for ages. I want the pink ones.
Oh, I got them off Amazon for...
No! How much for those ones? I'll pay you $20 for them.
What? I laugh, thinking she was joking. She wasn't.
Fine, $25. Take it or leave it.
Lady, I got these for over $80. These are Razer Kraken Pro's gaming headphones. Get some yourself.
Oh, but my daughter needs them. She's a gamer.
Oh? What's her favorite game then?
I need them for a Fortnite tournament.
Kid, get your own, and play better games.
Don't laugh at my child.
Lady, listen, how about no? Or how about you leave me the freak alone?
Watch your mouth. You shouldn't say those words.
Yeah, only adults can say those words.
Oh? Then what one of you should I listen to?
Both of us. A child like you shouldn't use those words. That's adult language.
Well, guess what? Let me tell you this one. I am a freaking adult.
Well, I am your elder.
So? You have no authority over me, so I don't need to listen to you if I don't want to.
Give me your headphones. You owe me them now.
I want pink.
How about no? Leave me alone. Entitled daughter cries and entitled mom loses it.
Look what you did. You give those headphones to my baby now.
No, leave me alone. I then ended up leaving and getting some posters, along with some soda. I check out and start to leave and see a friend who works there, along with the entitled mother and entitled daughter. Entitled mom told my friend,
There! That's the girl who stole my headphones.
My friend and I casually greet each other, and entitled mom was like,
You work here. How unprofessional. They stole my headphones. Stop them.
Hey, we go to the same school. Have you seen me wearing these in the halls? Yeah, since last February.
They are a liar. You should give those headphones back to my daughter.
Would I have had these since February if I had stolen them from you today? Entitled mom is silent for a moment before trying to protest, but my friend protects my property. Entitled Mom tries to convince her that the headphones were owed to her, but to no avail. In the end, Entitled Mom starts screaming at both of us and is detained by security for her BS. While writing this, I got a text from my friend. Apparently, the Entitled Mom was high off cocaine and had a baggie in her purse, and Entitled Daughter had weed on her, so both were arrested. Next up, we've got Entitled Mom decides I don't belong in my workplace because I'm a girl and I get an asthma attack. So I'm the only girl in an auto collision class at a technical college. I also have extreme asthma, so I often have to wear a dust mask and take an inhaler every half hour to make sure that I don't have an asthma attack again and have to go to the hospital. Spoilers, I didn't this time, but it doesn't happen very often at all, especially as I've gotten older. At the school, sometimes the other teachers will come down and ask us to detail their cars for them, and we often do. Since going into any automotive field, you'll start out as a detailer, and we need to constantly stay on top of our game for it. On this day, I saw a woman who I think worked in the office with her kid come in while I was working on sanding the paint off of a cart that needed to be repainted. It was really old and looked really trashy. Had to sand it down and remove the wheels. The kid looked about 13-ish, so I thought at first that maybe he was a middle school kid coming to check out the class to see if he wanted to join. But then I overheard his entitled mom talking to my teacher about washing her car. I got up to over here because I'm extremely nosy, and I noticed that the kids seemed to be a bit bothered by the dust. A lot of people were sanding that day, but I knew the dust bugged me, so I figured someone who wasn't so used to it would probably have some trouble. I went to the tool room where we keep the dust masks, and I found a disposable one. I had a thicker mask that day since I couldn't find some of our disposable ones a few days ago, and I didn't want to waste the really nice ones that I had found. I found the disposable ones this time though. I brought him the mask and handed it to him. I took mine off so that I could talk to him and be more polite. Here, you look like you could use it. The kid takes the mask and slips it on.
Thanks. The dust is really thick in here.
Yeah, I know. If you're not used to it, it'll bug you. It still bugs me. We both chuckled a bit when the entitled mom saw me as my teacher walked away to add her to our schedule. She then gave me this weird, disgusted look, seeing my dusty clothes.
Young lady, where can my son get that uniform? I don't want his clothes to get dirty while we're in here.
I thought she was confused. Oh, sorry. This is my uniform. Your son will have to get one when he joins the class. Entitled mom looked confused now.
Why do you have a uniform like that? Shouldn't you be wearing scrubs or something?
I was also confused. What do you mean?
As though I'm the stupid one. You're a girl. There aren't any other girls here. Shouldn't you be in the nursing program or the child development program?
I'm used to people thinking I belong in those programs until they see me in uniform, or people in general thinking I should be working with kids, so this doesn't really bother me. Oh, sorry ma'am, but no, I work here in the shop. There are other girls in the afternoon class though. There was a morning and an afternoon class, and the afternoon class had 4 girls in it, I think. Entitled mom still thought I was stupid.
You're a nasty girl. I bet you don't know a thing about cars. I'll bet you only joined this class to flaunt around in your nasty clothes to these innocent boys.
I'll have you know, I'm probably the most conservative here, mostly because I am a girl. I change in the tool room since there isn't a girl's locker room, and I always wear my work clothes over the top of my regular clothes. I'm also wearing the exact same thing as the guys, as my clothes are men's clothes, and there is nothing nasty about the way that I'm wearing them. Ma'am, 1, I have a boyfriend, and really don't need to attract attention of these men. 2, even if I were to only be here for the men, I would have been kicked out a long time ago, because I'd be too focused on getting a man rather than the multitude of tests we have to take on a bi-weekly basis and the hard work that we do here. And 3, I don't know who you think you are coming in here and talking to me like that, but I would appreciate it if you wouldn't treat me this way, as I'm aware that when your car comes through us to be cleaned, I'll be a part of that group cleaning your car. Entitled mom was red in the face.
Absolutely not. I will not have some nasty girl trying to seduce these poor boys into doing disgusting things inside of my family's car. You're scarring my son, and you need to leave.
I rolled my eyes and decided to just leave her alone to get back to my work, putting my mask back on now. A few minutes later, my teacher still hadn't gotten back to her as he was pulled away by some of the other students, so she came back over to interrogate me some more. I had been taking this car apart so that we could paint it better, as an extension cord was attached to it and we couldn't paint that.
What do you think you're doing?
I was mildly annoyed, but kept my cool. I'm using a screwdriver for the hooks holding the extension cord to this cart so we can paint it.
Let my kid do it. He knows how to work his way around tools.
The kid looked pretty embarrassed, and he was shaking his head. I'm sorry, but I can't do that. I have lots of work to do, and the hooks are a little weird to get off. Entitled Mom wasn't having it.
Take off that stupid mask when you speak to me. Why are you even wearing it? Trying to lure my son so he feels more welcomed into your little world because you're both wearing masks?
I was really annoyed now. No, I'm wearing the mask because the dust bothers my asthma, and I saw that the dust was bothering your son too, so I gave him one. I then pulled out my asthma inhaler to show her because I thought it might keep her from going full entitled parent. Big mistake.
Put that thing away. Now you're trying to pull him in with drugs.
I quickly put it away, but she wasn't done.
And if the dust is so bad, you should have given my son your mask. He obviously needs it more than you do. You're probably faking it for attention and drugs.
Now my mask was much thicker and was really helping me. Her son was clearly fine with the one I gave him, and I knew he was just going to throw it away when he left. I'm sorry, but I really need this mask to keep the dust out of my lungs. Your son seems to be fine with the one I gave him.
No! He has far worse asthma than you could imagine. He needs that mask.
Well, I'm sorry, but these masks aren't disposable like the one I gave your son. I need to use mine for a long while. He'll only need his until you leave.
I don't care. Give me your mask and get out of this garage, or else I will tell your teacher that you are harassing my son.
At this point, I'm pretty mad, but I would never lose my temper in my workplace. We have cameras all over the place, and the guys were looking over as the woman lost her mind on me. Teacher could also see through the window of our separate classroom, though he wasn't looking at the minute, and he was talking to another student. Go tell him if you really want to. I wasn't afraid of her accusations and crossed my arms at her, but the guys weren't having it, and they started coming over. Guy 1 comes over looking ready to fight. Why don't you get the hell out of here before we tell him how you're harassing her? She has more of a right to be here than you do.
How dare you talk to me like that? Do you know who I am?
Yeah, you're the lady who came to ask us for a favor that we don't have to do, and probably aren't going to do because of the way you're treating one of our hardest workers.
Wait until your teacher hears about this. You will all be removed from this school for assault and harassment.
The teacher walked back into the classroom. Entitled Mom, you need to leave. We won't be doing this service for you. Entitled Mom was already formulating her lies.
Your little nasty student here was sexually harassing my son. I want her removed from this school. And the police called on her at once. And I want them.
She points at the guys who were trying to help.
To be arrested for assaulting me and threatening my son.
I don't think that's what's going on here. As I sat there and watched you come over and bother my students while they are working, we're not going to be washing your car, and I would appreciate it if you left and wouldn't come back to my shop. Entitled Mom threw a fit. She grabbed the kid by his wrist and dragged him out, but not before ripping my dust mask off, taking an air hose that I had been using to blow the dust off when I sand and blew a whole bunch of freaking dust in my face. I ended up needing to step out of the shop and sit in the classroom for the rest of the time so that I could get my asthma back under control, as I couldn't stop coughing, and I had red marks on the side of my face from when she took my mask and the elastic strap snapped on my face. Now, if I ever go near Entitled Mom's class, I make sure I'm not alone, as I'm a little nervous she'd try something, and I'm really bad at confrontation. Everyone's telling me to go to the police or get her in trouble. I really didn't want to go to the police, as I get really anxious and don't like confrontation. One of my friends in the class did go to the principal for me since I said I didn't want to go. He's looking into it right now, and she's in some hot water. She's been officially fired, and she's in trouble with the police. They want me to go into a trial and give my piece, but I'm a little nervous about going. I really don't like confrontation. Next up, we have Entitled Mom wants our food, while me and boyfriend have our date night. My boyfriend and I usually have a date night every Friday, and this particular evening we decided to go to the Greek restaurant a couple of blocks from our apartment downtown. We met up at home after work to get changed. I'm a femboy, so I used some time to get ready, combed and washed my hair, put a bit of makeup on, and found my best dress. A black Bardot frill details bodycon, just so you have an idea of what I wore since it comes into play later. But we start to walk downstairs and onto the restaurant. This restaurant requires a pre-order to be able to get a seat, and we had reserved a week earlier after our last date. So we get there and get seated in the smoking area since both of us are smokers. We sit down and decide to order a beer each, so we had a drink until our food was ready and fired up a cigarette. Enter Entitled Family. The family got seated right next to us.
Mommy, it smells. I don't like it.
I know, sweetie.
Looks at us smoking.
Excuse me.
We didn't think she meant us.
Excuse me.
We look.
My son is uncomfortable that you are smoking. Could you put them out?
I'm sorry, ma'am, but if you don't like us smoking, why did you choose a seat in the smoking allowed area?
Smoking is not allowed. This is a restaurant after all.
My boyfriend, not taking any BS, shows her that at least 15 signs are within our sight saying smoking is allowed.
Those are fake. You probably put those signs there yourself. Just stop smoking near my kid.
The waiter got to our area and called our number.
That's us.
We were shocked, but called the waiter over. What the entitled mom didn't think about was that we got a note with the number by the waiter when placing orders. They hadn't ordered yet, so I showed our number to the waiter.
She stole our note. That nasty girl who's not wearing anything but lingerie in public. She even started harassing my son and me by showing us her lady parts.
Both me and my boyfriend looked at each other and started laughing.
See? They are heartless.
Is this true? No, it isn't. I explained that she didn't want us smoking and tried to take our food. Do you have proof? She looked at us. I'm short and skinny, so I don't look my age, so I always bring my passport in my purse. Are you sure she showed you her lady parts?
Yes.
Okay. One thing. He's a guy. The look on the mother's face was priceless. We got our drinks on the house, and the entitled mom and entitled kid got escorted out of the restaurant. We still laugh about it once in a while. Next up, we've got, no, our STEM project is not for your son to have. This happened 2 years ago during Halloween, when I participated in an event called the Haunted STEM Lab. If you haven't already guessed, this was a Halloween event where we invite local parents and kids to our lab building and show them what kind of STEM projects the students have been working on. Our cast, we've got me, Teammate 1, Teammate 2, entitled mom, entitled Brett, and the teacher. My team's project was simple, an RC motor robot where the user can use the joystick to navigate through the obstacle. While the concept may sound simple, those who have done any form of programming or robotic work would know it's a lot of work. It took weeks of frustrating programming with 2 sets of code, one for the robot and one for the controller, and we had to constantly pester the teacher and his assistant, both also advising 5 other projects. But hey, we ended up making the robot work. On the day of the actual event, after everyone was done with their final testings and the last-minute approval from the teacher, we opened the doors to the guests. And let me tell you, young kids getting excited over seeing these projects in action is one of the most sweetest and adorable things you'll ever see. And everyone felt pride in giving them dreams and interests in the STEM field. Everything was going great until they showed up. Entitled Brad is around 6 or 7 and in a terrible Minecraft creeper costume, which I cringed really hard at, and is really fidgety. Entitled Mom is in her mid-30s and not really paying attention except on her phone. They join one group, then proceed to go around the building. Now I understand as a 6 or 7-year-old, this kid has probably not seen science or tech projects, but his reaction was a bit annoying. As in, he screamed a lot, tried to touch everything. He tried to touch the fire tornado mentioned above, and he asked silly questions like,
Can this project fly?
Entitled Mom is occasionally looking up to see what Entitled Brat is getting excited about, then goes back to her phone. We were one of the last projects to be presented. From the start, we decided the kids should be allowed to use the controller to see if they can navigate through the obstacle course we have made. Some kids didn't, and some kids did. We gave 3D printed jack-o'-lantern figures to the ones who did. It's Entitled Brat's turn, and he refuses to listen to our directions. The robot was very sensitive to the controls, so pushing the joystick hard in any direction sent the robot speeding. Entitled Brat kept crashing the robot, getting more agitated each time and not really letting the next kid play. While the robot didn't move fast enough to cause enough damage to whatever was around it or itself, we saw that it wasn't going anywhere, literally. I asked Entitled Brat to give other kids a turn, and when he refused, the teacher yanked it out of the Entitled Brat's hands. Entitled Brat started throwing a tantrum, and that's when Entitled Mom finally decides to pay attention.
What is going on? Why is my darling upset?
Because he couldn't navigate through this obstacle course. Because we took the controller away from him after he refused to give anyone else a turn.
I really want the prize.
Here, I'll do it. It should be easy.
Okay, but can you wait until... Entitled Mom went up to the little girl who was using the controller at the moment, took it away from her, and starts controlling the robot herself. The girl was crying, and while her parents were yelling at the Entitled Mom, she simply waved them off. She was just as bad as Entitled Brat though. She was crashing and knocking over all the obstacles. Less than a minute into taking the controls, she throws the controller hard at the floor. "What are you doing?"
You idiots did a terrible job at programming. Learn how to code.
Sure, it wasn't perfect, but she just insulted many weeks of work. Please watch your language in front of the children. Also, this took us a very long time to do, and you may have just broken school property.
How dare you tell me what to do? I demand you to give the robot to my son for upsetting him.
First off, all the stuff was borrowed from the school, so we can't just give it to you. Second, you may have just broken the controller. The robot might not even work.
I don't care. Give me the robot for wasting my time.
No, you're scaring the kids. Please leave. Entitled Mom is going ballistic and yelling incomprehensive words. Teacher pulls me aside to have campus security come to the building while he tried to deal with Entitled Mom. Entitled Mom came up with a lame excuse of how we were somehow stealing the project from her and her entitled brat. Entitled Mom even had the audacity to say that everyone should be paying her to see their work. The teacher obviously knew what was going on and told her the project belonged to us and she needs to leave. That's when the security guard shows up. I heard there was a disturbance. What's going on?
Thank God! Someone competent. These jerks stole our science project.
Actually, not only did you claim the project my students worked on was yours, but you tried to steal it.
That's because it is.
Then why did you throw your controller on the ground? Entitled Mom looked defeated.
Well,
If you truly did work on the project, then you must know the two set of 4-digit code that links the controller and the robot. What are they?
1, 2, 3, 4, and ABCD?
Not even close. Security, please have her removed. So the security guard and the teacher tow her while she's kicking about. Entitled Brad actually tried to take the robot with him while I snatched it from his hands. He went to join his mother crying. We had to turn things around to cheer up other parents and kids, so the teacher and I kept ourselves busy trying to make them forget. Thankfully, the joystick and the chip wasn't damaged severely, so other guests could still try to complete the obstacle course. The teacher came back over around an hour later with a bruise on his face. Turns out, while the security guard was removing her from the building, Entitled Mom couldn't drop it and punched the teacher in his face. Security had to call for both backup and the city police. Entitled Mom was making a run for it, but the security guard quickly tackled her. When the police arrived, she tried to play the typical victim role.
They stole from me, assaulted me,
etc. But they were already informed of what happened and had gathered the security footage as evidence. Teacher pressed charges for theft, while the other teacher pressed charges for assault. No one knew what happened to her or her kid as both of them were driven away in the back of a police car. The rest of the night went smoothly, but everyone was on edge. This was sort of a midterm assignment, and everyone got a passing grade. Next up, we've got, you want kids for money? Shouldn't have thrown out your eldest. By the way, if you're enjoying these stories, please do me a favor and hit the thumbs up. As I have stated in my last post, I had an entitled mother while growing up. I grew up with physical and mental abuse since my mother only wanted kids to get financial support from the state. She had 2 kids in the end, me and my brother. As I mentioned earlier, I survived a bunch of abuse during the earlier years of my life. I was 8 when my brother was born and immediately feared for his life. Thank God she took the abuse out on me instead of him since he was so small and it was harder to hide than on me. Fast forward 2 years and I turned 10. My mother must have thought I was old enough to think of going to CPS. What she didn't know was that I indirectly contacted them a year and a half earlier since my teachers found the marks on my body. She told me to pack a bag and leave her house within 5 minutes. I started to panic and ran as fast as I could. About 4 minutes later, she came and told me to hurry up, and what didn't fit in the bag had to be left behind. I ran a bit faster and left as fast as possible. What she didn't know was that I had laid plans for weeks about directly contacting CPS this time. Revenge time. My mom didn't think about the distance between our home and the CPS headquarters. It was barely 15 to 16 kilometers from the house to headquarters, and I started walking immediately. The only thing I hadn't taken into account was me getting thrown out. It was late in the afternoon when I started walking, so it was a bit late when I arrived at headquarters. I'm short, about 5'4", so I believe it took a while. They had closed when I got there. I decided to stay on the pavement until they opened up next morning. It was during September and it got quite cold in the country where I lived at the time, so I was ready to fly through the door when the opening staff arrived. I got inside and they handed me a blanket and a mug of cocoa and told me to explain what was going on. I explained from the start and showed them the marks on my body. To be honest, the look on their face was mostly shocked and had a furious look. But they were sitting with a 10-year-old boy, so they kept calm while I spoke. When I was done speaking, it really hit the fan. They called some of the employees to come as fast as possible and called the cops to get them ready to deploy. As soon as the CPS workers arrived, they started working immediately on the case. About 1.5 hours later, they walked over to me and asked if I wanted to come with them. Not because they needed me on the site, but more so I could get closure. I said I wanted to go just to get my brother, and we left. I walked the day before and we drove this time, so it took much less time to get there. My mom was still half asleep, and both cops and CPS forced their way in when she refused to let them in. The conversation, as I remember, went as followed.
What do you think you are doing breaking into my home? Do you have a warrant?
CPS points at me standing in the door. Entitled Mom looked confused and angry.
You know he's lying, right?
He slept outside the headquarters, and the story was too detailed to be a lie from a 10-year-old kid, not to mention the marks on his body.
He ran away last night, and the marks he made himself.
The CPS worker didn't buy it, and the cop started to put her in handcuffs and began to move toward the car. I got myself to walk further and ran into my brother's room and took him into my arms and walked downstairs again. Not long after this, we moved in with a temporary foster family. My mom got locked up and got 10 years for child endangerment, neglect, abuse, and so on. She got taken away the rights to have kids in the future as well. I experienced almost the same 7 months after when I lived with my dad, but that's another story. It's been 9 years now, and I live with my wonderful boyfriend in an apartment in another country. My mom doesn't know where my brother and I are, so it's all good. Next up, we've got Entitled Mother Complains to My Boss, and he fines me for not selling tobacco and beer to her underage kid. About 10 years ago, I was working in an alcohol and tobacco shop. It was a temporary job, which could have lasted for a longer time, but the boss ended up being a cheap jerk, whom I dealt with later. It wasn't a hard job. 4 days a week, 4 p.m. to 1 a.m., and 15 euros per day. But hey, it was still okay for an 18-year-old kid who was still in high school. Besides, the shop is in a block of flats across the street of mine, and I had free Wi-Fi, so it was cool. Now, since this was a local shop, there were regular customers, mostly smokers, who came to get their pack of cigarettes. Also, the legal age in Bulgaria for buying and consuming alcohol and tobacco is 18, so there was a sign that none could be sold to minors. But nobody cared about that. Nobody but me. I have a strong moral compass and was raised to uphold the law, no matter the consequences. So there I was at the register, minding my own business. Enter Shy Kid, a 9 or 10-year-old shy boy with a good smile. He went to one of the fridges, got a 2-liter bottle of beer, came to the register and asked for 2 packs of Marlboro cigarettes. Now, I don't remember the conversation word for word, but all of it was mostly like this. I'm sorry, kid, but I can't allow you to take the beer and cigarettes. But why? It's against the law. You must be at least 18 to be able to buy them. My mom sent me, and they've always sold them to me before. I'm sorry to hear that, but just because my coworker has sold it to you doesn't mean it's right. Also, do you see the big sign above my head? It says it's illegal to sell alcohol and tobacco products to people under 18. Sorry, kid. I smiled to the shy kid and he smiled too, said goodbye and went out of the store. He was a good kid and I thought to myself that his mom is not much of a parent since she teaches him to break the law from an early age. It took less than 10 minutes and here comes Mother Monster, the entitled mom. She stormed into the shop and started.
Who do you think you are?
Excuse me?
Who do you think you are for not selling my kid the things I asked him for?
Ma'am, it is against the law. You can see the sign above me. Alcohol and tobacco are not allowed to people under 18 years old.
They are not allowed? What are you, a policeman or something?
I don't need to be a policeman to uphold the law.
I don't care about the law, and everyone else sells cigarettes and beer to my kid, and you made me have to come here and get them myself, as if I don't have a more important job than dealing with your laws.
Just because they do it doesn't mean they are right. Now you came here for a bottle of beer and 2 packs of Marlboro cigarettes. You can buy them, and I will be more than glad to sell these items to you, but I will not sell them to your son. That is the law. Entitled Mom grabbed the items and said in a rude and disgusting tone,
No wonder why our country is so poor. People like you ruin it because you think you are better than the others.
Now this pissed me off because Bulgaria has an overly corrupt government and no one cares about the laws, so I responded, me, in a calm but hardened tone. Our country is so bad, not because of people like me, but because of people like you. People who teach their kids from an early age to break the law. If there were more people like me who respected and upheld the law, we wouldn't be like this at the moment. Your boy is not supposed to get them. And real trouble can come out of this. A fine for you for asking me to sell items to your child, a fine for me for selling them, and a fine for my boss for allowing this in the shop. Keep this in mind when you send your boy to break the law, because you don't want to go to the shop yourself. She lives in the same block of flats where the shop is located.
You will see. I will get you fired. I know the owner of the shop.
Do it if you wish. This doesn't mean I am not right. The law is the law. Entitled mom goes out of the shop, and sometime I receive a call from my boss. He yelled at me for not selling the items to the kid and being rude and obnoxious to the customer, and I shouldn't feel more special than everyone else. He then proceeded to fine me with 30 euros for pushing the customers away from the shop, as if I had worked for 2 days for free. When I protested, stating that the cameras would show everything and I might complain to the police, he said that he had control over the recordings. The camera could go faulty and some recordings could be lost, and that I should be lucky I still have my job because he was understaffed and desperately needed employees. He also said later that the sign is for tax agents who were frequently coming to inspect the shop, and he was obliged to put it on. In the end, I got pissed with him and the entitled mom. I didn't continue the call because I was busy. Instead, I continued to chat with him over Viber, where he confirmed the 30 euro fine. I didn't do anything about this at the time because this was not the first time he would fine me for some BS reason like this, and I was planning to take him down with a sweet r/pro revenge. But this is a story for another day. Hey there, Mr. Reddit here. For more of the best stories from Reddit, hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications, and I'll see you very soon with some more of the best stories that Reddit has to offer.